मोनिका पता नहीं क्यों.
We are like Jesse.
Lovely. Yes.
रुक जा पहले इंट्रोडक्शन कर ले.
ओके कर दिया ऑलरेडी एडमिट और कैसे किया.
I can't see anybody live. Yeah, who's that? Deepa. Deepa, hi, how are you? Rajesh. Wow, Rajesh bhai, we are good, yeah. Rajesh bhai, I saw you at the other meet, huh?
एक काम कर दो.
Hi, Doc. How are you doing? Are you comfortable? Dr. Rajiv, he's unmute him. Yeah, okay. Dr. Rajiv, how are you doing?
Hello. Yes, I'm doing good. Yeah, I'm doing absolutely good.
Comfortable हो ना बस?
एकदम comfortable हूँ.
Good, good. I mean, and क्या है ना? What I have learned over the few days that when we have this medical sessions, when we invite a doctor here for a chit chat, we request कि आप इतना easy हो जाओ, इतनी साधारण भाषा में आ जाओ कि वो जो हमारी audience है समझ लो 6 साल से छोटी है या फिर 80 साल से ऊपर है. कैसे समझाओ आप? मतलब बीच वालों को तो Google मिल जाता है. They have Google to guide them. But let us guide them in such a way that they understand like a 6-year-old child. So when we are talking or कुछ भी आप बता रहे हो ना सर, आप जितना उसको non-medical
में,
yeah, they will understand better, and your reach will go much farther. Then
right.
More and more people will want to connect with that particular video that we are going to share.
True.
So keeping that in mind, let us have a very simple and a very comfortable session.
Absolutely.
And I think Saroj ji is there. Mrs. Agarwal, are you there?
I'm here. Hi, Jiten. Hi, Papa Jesse.
Good. How are
Hi,
you?
everyone.
Hi.
Kanu. Hi, Kanu. Hi, Rajesh. Hi, Dr. Rajiv.
So we have this team here. Our team consists of Dr. Rajiv. Dr. Rajiv. Okay, Dr. Rajiv, I'll introduce you to my team here. We have Manoj Pasari. Hi, Manoj.
Hi, Manoj.
We have Kavita.
Hi, Kavita.
Hi.
We have Ravi Parasrampuria.
Hi Doctor, Namaste.
Hi.
And we have Hemant.
Hi, Hemant. मेरी बीवी से भी इंट्रोड्यूस करा दो भाई.
And we have Saroj Agarwal. She is a part of our team. So she will be on
hello,
our.
Hello, Ravi ji, Hemant ji, and Manoj ji. I've been seeing you in all the other shows. So hello.
Thank you so much.
So we will go like this, that you are going to take all the questions. So Ravi, can you please set the question format in such a way that the questions go straight to Sarojji.
Okay.
Okay, Ravi?
Okay.
Let she get all the question, and from there you take over when we start the question answer session. So let's start the show now. I want to start with something different today, being Mother's Day. So happy Mother's Day to all of you.
Happy Mother's Day.
मेरी सारी गलतियों को वो माफ करती है, बहुत गुस्से में होकर भी प्यार देती है, उनके होठों पे हमेशा दुआ होती है, ऐसा करने वाली सिर्फ और सिर्फ हमारी माँ होती है. आप सभी को माँ दिवस के लिए बहुत बहुत बधाई. हालांकि one day is never enough to celebrate our motherhood, yet today we plan to celebrate differently as we call it Healthy Mother's Day. Because a healthy Mother's Day means a healthy family. So, I mean, a healthy mother means a healthy family. क्या होता है when I'm going live and you're making a mistake, you are broadcast. I broadcast with mistakes, चलता है, but I'm not conscious. Sorry?
JC, when you're done, I would like to invite, I'm not too sure if my mom is online or not right now.
Yeah.
I will just check because I would like to say a few words for my mother as well.
Yeah, please, please, please.
Yeah, I
Saroj.
will just check. You please continue in the meantime.
Okay. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, a warm welcome to Papa JC Talk Show, and a very good afternoon to all of you. It's an honor to host so many ladies on such an auspicious day today. Actually, today ladies are more here because of the topic that we have. Yesterday we had another good show as Dr. Shilpi Malhotra discussed about dental issues, and she mentioned all the remedies, that online remedies, kaise karna hai. She showed her how to brush her teeth. She showed her how to floss. A lot of people did not know how to floss, so she actually showed us how to do the flossing. Tomorrow we have invited Ms. Sheila Mitra at 2 p.m. She will teach us effective communication skills. She is a certified public speaking and effective communication skills coach. On Tuesday, and tomorrow's session is at 2 p.m. On Tuesday, we have a very different kind of a show. The idea is to get the feel of energy flowing in Zoom. You will actually feel that energy flowing in Zoom. I don't want to name the topic, but you have to attend to enjoy the session. Because so far, whenever we've got these surprise speakers, they have turned out to be really, really interesting. On Wednesday, we have a doctor who will talk about hair fall, which is again a very, very strong topic, and I'm getting a lot of requests to bring in someone to talk about hair fall. On Thursday, again, we have a new topic where through the person will show us how to understand genetic disorders through different kinds of tests. So it's a very interesting subject. So, and like this, we have so many lined up, and they are going to continue. Now, let me highlight that we do not do entertainment or stand-up comedy shows. We do serious question and answer sessions with eminent personalities on new topics every day. And our objective is to get maximum people, to get answers for maximum people. And we try to share it on the Facebook as well as different Facebook platforms so that more and more questions are answered. So it's basically, the idea is to reach out to more and more people. So here today we have a very, very special topic, and we have a very, very special person. May I now introduce Kavita to please request Kavita to please introduce Rajiv ji.
Yes, sure. So good afternoon, everyone. Nowadays, where most of the women are working and engaged in some profession, they don't get the adequate time to look after themselves. So herein lies the role of a gynecologist, who is very important to guide and help restore the health of women. So here it's a pleasure to introduce Dr. Rajiv Agarwal on board, a fertility expert, laparoscopic surgeon, aesthetic gynecologist, and a podcast artist. He is currently the director of Care IVF Kolkata, which is ranked #1 in the East Zone by Times Health for the last 4 consecutive years. He is also the director of International Fertility Academy, which is an online fertility academy for doctors and fertility experts. He also hosts 2 podcasts. One of them is called Unke Alfaz Meri Awaaz, wherein he recites poems written by others, and another called Fertility, Motherhood and Wellness Show, True Stories with Dr. Rajiv, which is an information channel for the aspects of women's health. So here Dr. Rajiv, with his expertise, is going to take us through a fabulous session ahead. Over to Papa.
Thank you, Kavita. Thank you, Kavita. Thank you so much for that introduction.
क्या बात है बस इतना कुछ कर कुरा के you know that you'll come here someday.
Thank you, Papa JC, and thank you everyone for joining. I can see Dr. Shilpi, brilliant show yesterday. Shilpi, I was there online, absolutely amazing, and Papa JC can't stop raving about your show. He said maximum viewers, I think, and it was so simple, so nice, which actually it was. And thank you, Neelam, for joining. People I know, Kanupriya, thank you for joining. I can see Rajesh here. Thank you for joining in. And I hope we will have a good show today again. My mother is here. And of course, today is Mother's Day, a very special day for mothers. Of course, mothers are special every single day. But I guess the entire year we keep running around. We never really have the time to really sit down and thank our mothers for who we are and what they have made us out to be. So I would like to take this moment to say a few lines for my mother. ये घुटनों से रेंगते रेंगते कब पैरों पर खड़ा हुआ, घुटनों से रेंगते रेंगते कब पैरों पर खड़ा हुआ, तेरी ममता की छांव में जाने कब बड़ा हुआ। काला टीका दूध मलाई आज भी सब कुछ वैसा है, काला टीका दूध मलाई आज भी सब कुछ वैसा है, मैं ही हूं मैं हर जगह, प्यार ये तेरा कैसा है। सीधा साधा भोला भाला मैं ही सबसे अच्छा हूं, and this is very true because she believes that there can be no one better than me in the household, and Saroj can look after her and love her as much as she can, but सीधा साधा भोला भाला मैं ही सबसे अच्छा हूं, कितना भी हो जाऊं बड़ा मां, मैं आज भी तेरा बच्चा हूं, मैं आज भी तेरा बच्चा हूं। थैंक यू मम्मी।
Excellent. ये आपने खुद लिखा कि आप कहीं से पढ़ रहे हैं?
नहीं, ये मुझे फेसबुक में मिला है, मुझे नहीं पता ये किसकी लिखी हुई है, लेकिन पढ़ते ही दिल को छू गई तो मैंने सोचा आज मैं अपनी माँ के लिए कहूं।
Okay. So let's start the session. But सबसे पहले I would like to request the forum and people attending today, let us not ask any question like a prescription कि ये दवाई बताइए, ये medicine prescribe करिए, because this forum is not meant for such a format. I mean, we are not talking about getting prescriptions from our doctors here, and they're not supposed to do it. So please do not put any question where you want to get दवाई का नाम. पैसे खर्च करके आप डॉक्टर से मिल के आना बेटर ये होगा. But we will keep it very generic, and we'll try to get all the possible answers for the questions that you have raised or you've given to us at the group we have. I'll just share with you, Dr. Saab, we have a group, a WhatsApp group where we compile the questions every day for the speaker who comes.
Okay.
So whenever we mention a doctor's name and the field he is from, we get a list of questions coming up.
Right.
So आज भी करीबन 30-35 questions आए हैं, and we request our doctors to come for an hour or so. वो ले देके 2 घंटे तक खींची जाता है वो. So be prepared to answer most of the questions because they.
रचना जी ने पूछा है कि can I get that poem? I will put it on the chat once we finish, or I will pass it out to you, and you can probably pass it on to Rachna ji from there.
Sure, we'll do that. We'll do that. Okay. To start with, let us start with something where we are testing you as a doctor. A very serious question, huh?
भाई ऐसा मत करो, मैं उठ के चला जाऊंगा।
कर लेते हैं because सबको पता होना चाहिए ना, आज जो डॉक्टर आए वो एकदम महापंडित है अपने फील्ड में. Let's start. Okay. The first, it's going to be a rapid fire. You answer in one word, true, false, or whatever.
अच्छा.
We'll just go through it. And difficult questions. You should be serious.
Okay.
First question. Eating peanuts and dairy can make your baby allergic to them. Talking about
That's your serious question. No. False.
So what I'm trying to do is that I've summed up a few questions which are a yes and no or true and false for pregnant women. Because there are a lot of these myths that go around. So these questions are related to them. So it's all about pregnant women, right?
I hope you picked up at least some of those funny ones, because I get all the funniest ones in the clinic on messages and stuff like that. So yes, fire away. Let's see.
The next one is घी या नारियल consumption करने से बच्चा गोरा पैदा होता है. True or false?
False.
Okay. Looking at a poster in room makes the baby that you will have look like that poster. ऐसा होता है क्या कुछ?
अगर ऐसा होता, and there are some mothers who probably would be putting up my picture or my this thing, मुश्किल हो जाएगी भाई. Socially, I will get into a lot of trouble. So no, ऐसा नहीं होता है.
But अच्छा, a mother who's pregnant says I should be eating for two. मैं पहले अकेले के लिए खाती थी, अब 2 जन के लिए खाना पड़ेगा.
Which is again very wrong. A mother does need to have a few more calories, but no, it's not right to eat for 2. You'll actually put on tons of weight, which is going to lead to more complications. False.
Okay, good. I shouldn't have hot baths.
That's true. One shouldn't have hot baths. Very hot water can be damaging, but warm baths, the kind of normal water that we bathe in, is absolutely fine. But yes, you shouldn't dip yourself into a hot tub water.
Okay. No hair dye. Coloring
hair, dyeing of hair is absolutely fine. As long as the dye is ammonia free, there is no problem. You can go ahead and do that. Having said that, I would like to say that the first 3 months when the baby is being formed, try and stay away from everything which is chemical. So first 3 months, hair dyeing, no. After that, ammonia free, yes.
Are the questions good enough?
Fantastic. I'm enjoying myself.
Okay. exercise. They say that when you just become pregnant, no exercising for a few days or a few months. What do you say on that?
First 3 months, the chances of miscarriages are higher. So we definitely say take it a little easy. Those who've been exercising even before pregnancy, they could probably, come down to maybe walking or swimming. Once 3 months are over and your doctor says that everything is fine, exercising is absolutely fine. So much so that the American Pregnancy Association says that if one has been weightlifting before pregnancy, one can continue even weightlifting in pregnancy. There are women who run marathons in pregnancy as well.
Okay. So that's again a myth. Morning sickness only happens in the mornings?
Myth.
Okay.
Morning sickness can happen any point in time. It's more common in the morning.
Okay. No cat in the house.
So if you have cats and there's no problem having cats in the house, they're absolutely safe. One should try and avoid touching cat litter, because if you touch cat litter, there is a possibility of you contracting an infection called toxoplasmosis. I'm not going to get into details of that. So don't handle cat litter, ask someone else to do it. But having cats in the house is perfectly all right. You probably will be more relaxed the entire pregnancy if you have a pet in the house.
Okay. Some cream that can help avoid stretch marks.
Nothing can avoid stretch marks. It happens because the skin tears in pregnancy. So if you've got very supple skin, if you've been exercising, your skin is very stretchable, even before pregnancy, then it's going to stretch. It won't tear. But if you put on too much of weight in pregnancy, your skin is going to tear. The creams can probably reduce the chances of that and make it supple, but no, nothing can avoid.
That means you're straight away going on record saying the cream company should shut down. Okay, next one. Heartburn means my baby has lots of hair. Is it true?
Then every baby would definitely have a lot of hair. There's no woman in pregnancy who doesn't have heartburn. So no, that's a myth. There is no connection.
Okay, there is a saying that your face, the mother's face, and the fullness during pregnancy can predict the child, the gender of the baby. Is it possible?
No, that's wrong again.
Okay, good. Stress, good or bad during pregnancy?
Stress is bad. Whether you're non-pregnant, pregnant, any point in time, any time in life, stress is bad. Avoid stress.
Okay, sleep 16 hours a day during pregnancy. Good.
One should definitely rest more in pregnancy. We say that you should rest in the afternoon, have a good night's sleep at night. But then for someone, a good night's sleep could be 5 hours, 6 hours. For someone, 8 hours. 16 hours is a little too much. So no, sleep well.
Swimming may drown the fetus.
No, swimming does not drown the fetus at all. Swimming is in fact the best form of exercise you can do in pregnancy. It's the safest.
Okay. X-ray during pregnancy, allowed, not allowed?
Yes and no. So any X-ray on the tummy part we definitely avoid. But if someone, say, unfortunately has broken a leg, someone has maybe a tooth problem or something of that sort, wherein the doctor understands that an emergency X-ray is required, it's mandatory, then it needs to be done. One puts a kind of a lead shield on the tummy and protects the baby, and then the X-ray is done. However, if you ask me in one word, is X-ray safe? No.
Okay. पपीता खाने से abortion होता है, ये हम तो बहुत बार सुने.
That's again a myth. In olden times, raw papaya used to be put inside the uterus through the vagina, and that is how abortions were carried out when no medications were available. But having a ripe papaya orally is absolutely fine. There's no problem. That's a myth.
Okay. You can't fly during pregnancy.
That's again a myth. You can pass through those channels, the security channels and stuff like that, those X-ray scanners and whatever else. There is absolutely no problem. You can fly. Yes, with a word of caution, do speak to your doctor. There are certain conditions during which time you should not fly, as the chances of bleeding or miscarriage are higher. Your doctor would know best.
Okay. Then the next one is, this is something, no intercourse during pregnancy.
Absolutely a myth again. You can have intercourse during pregnancy. Again, we say for the first 3 months, you should try and avoid, as the risk of miscarriages is higher. Maybe in the last couple of weeks before delivery, again, it might induce labor. Barring a few conditions where one should not have intercourse, I'm not going to get into those conditions. You can speak to your doctor about it. Intercourse is absolutely safe in pregnancy.
You are only allowed 1 or 2 words. You are going sentences and paragraphs. Okay, there is another one.
For the past 2 months, we've been in lockdown.
Okay.
And you do understand that for the past 2 months, I'm not getting a chance to speak at home. So these are the few opportunities that I get to speak. And I normally speak for about 9 hours every day. So I have to take it all out.
I
right
know,
now.
I can see that you love talking. It'll be more of your show than my show. Okay, next one. There is a saying that जो सास बहू का जो होता है ना combination, वहाँ पर एक हमेशा प्रश्न आता है कि मेरी बहू माने my बहू should be having a glowing face during pregnancy. ऐसा कुछ होता है? Is that correct? That the pregnant woman should always glow?
Not really. Although yes, we do say that sometimes because of the stretching of skin with putting on weight, because of the stretching you start to look more glowing. But in reality, if you see because of the hormones, nausea, less water drinking, stomach upsets, women actually break out into pimples, and they look sometimes more ugly than they would normally. And we get these questions all the time. So no, it is not. It is a myth that they have to be glowing all the time.
Okay, there is something wrong if one doesn't have nausea in pregnancy.
No, there's absolutely nothing wrong. Having nausea means, yes, your pregnancy is going fine, but not having nausea does not mean there is something wrong. No.
Is it safe to go to movie halls and watch an action film?
Yes, it is safe to go to the theaters, but I recommend that after maybe the 5th or 5.5 months, 6 months, you shouldn't be going to the theater because the noise is deafening. And by that time, the child starts to hear. And it can be very troublesome for the child. So before that, yes, it is fine. But don't watch violent and horror movies. I don't know what your child is going to turn out to be then.
अच्छा फर्क पड़ता है अर्जुन वाली कहानी पे जाएगी क्या अर्जुन
भाई अगर अभिमन्यु को पेट में इतना कुछ सीखने को मिला तो पता नहीं आज के बच्चों को क्या सीखने को मिलेगा.
ओके, ये बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग है. व्हेन women are pregnant, उनका एक डिमांड रहता है हमेशा खाने का कि हमको पुचका खाना है तो खाना है और नहीं खाएंगे देख लो व्हाट यू आर डूइंग. इससे क्या कनेक्शन है?
ये हिंदी मूवीज में प्रीति जिंटा के साथ होता है ज्यादा. I'm not saying कि normal pregnancy में नहीं होता है, but that's not again an essential symptom. It is just the hormones playing up, and sometimes you do get these cravings, but it's not essential. You may have it, you may not have it.
It's not abnormal then.
No, it's not abnormal.
Okay, next is ये अब बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग वाला जो आखिरी वाला क्वेश्चन है वो ये है कच्चा आम का क्रेविंग क्या व्हाट इज द कनेक्शन भाई ये समझा दीजिए. कच्चे आम बिकने के शुरू हो जाते हैं उस समय.
ये again it's just that people they have a very abnormal taste in the first 3 months of pregnancy, and it's been shown that the sweet, the sour ones kind of appeal to your tongue a little better than sweet and other tastes. So it's only because of that ये कच्चे आम का वो उनको खट्टा जो टेस्ट होता है they perceive it much better than other tastes. So it's just that.
तो मतलब वो जो लेके आते हैं वो फिर जेन्युइन है, सही है. दैट प्रेग्नेंट है तो घर में 2-3 किलो लगा रख लो.
Yes.
Okay, now this is all we had to ask. Actually, what we tried to do is we covered most of these normal myths and these question and answers that normally come up during pregnancy. And since your topic is related to it, so I thought, why not compile all of them and put them across and clear these questions? Because nahi to you will have these questions coming up gradually.
True, absolutely. Honestly, I was very scared when you said you're going to be asking me a rapid fire question. But I think this was very well taken up and very relevant because I do keep getting these questions all the time.
So just to cover up them, and in case you have not got any questions left over, please ask. In the meanwhile, I would request people in the audience or the viewers, please raise your hands if you have to ask direct questions. So we'll put you on queue. Okay. Now, before we move to is Saroj here or she's?
I think Sahil, would you just mind checking Saroj's video feed, please?
Okay, Saroj is there.
She's back.
Saroj, you must have got these questions ready, right? Before we go to your question, I have a request from Pallavi Bajaj. I'm unmuting you. Pallavi ji, you are unmuted. You can ask.
Actually, I'm in my 5th month of pregnancy, and at night I'm urinating a lot. So is it normal in pregnancy or like there's some issue? I wanted to know.
So passing more frequent urine is normal in pregnancy. In the first 3 months of pregnancy, it's normal. In the last 3 months of pregnancy, it's normal. But even if it is normal or abnormal, we do need to do a urine routine culture test because that is the abnormal part, and we need to investigate and understand if you have a urine infection. So in your case, I would advise you to do a urine routine culture to understand if there is a urine infection. That's number one. Number two, anyone passing a lot of urine would also need to get their sugars tested because sometimes the sugars can be abnormal. So simply doing a fasting and PP won't help. You'll have to speak to your gynecologist regarding gestational diabetes. These are the two problematic areas that one needs to evaluate. If these two are turned out to be normal, then I guess it's just something that you need to bear with. My advice to you would be have as much water as you can till 7 p.m. in the evening and start restricting yourself for water intake after that. So if you don't drink too much of water at night, you may not go to the bathroom at night. Probably that's the problem in your case, because if there was a problem, then you would be passing urine the entire day and not just at night.
Okay. Thank you. And I have one more question. I am craving more of coffee because as what I know that coffee is restricted in pregnancy, but I feel like drinking coffee a lot. So is it okay or like I should avoid it?
When my wife was pregnant, she had this craving for beating me up every now and then. I did not allow her that craving. There are certain cravings which you need to restrict. So Pallaviji, I would request you, 1 to 2 cups of coffee is absolutely fine. But
Okay.
excess of anything is going to be bad. So ये आपको जरा सा ध्यान रखना होगा, because there's a lot of caffeine in coffee and that is not very good. I'm not saying drinking coffee is bad. Excess of coffee is bad.
Okay. Thank you very much, doctor.
So please mute yourself. Okay, we move on to Sarojji. She has compiled, she has got these questions. We can start off.
Yeah, hi Jiten, hi everyone here. We've got a lot of questions. I'm going to kind of divide the questions according to the topic. So it's going to be easy for Rajiv to answer that. Questions are sub-questions because menopause has a lot of questions. So let's go one by one. Rajiv, the first question is, hello Chetna ji. My question is on menopause. What are its symptoms and when can one expect to experience it?
So menopause can have symptoms like irritability. So I would say hot flushes are the most common symptoms probably of menopause that most women know about and experience. Hot flushes means that when you're in a room and everyone else is probably feeling comfortable with the fan on or the air condition on, suddenly you start feeling so hot, जिसको हम हिंदी में कहते हैं कान से धुआं निकल रहा है. You start sweating, it lasts for a minute or two, and then it tends to automatically go away. So hot flushes would probably be the first symptom. Irritability. So you'd find yourself that you're kind of getting irritated with the servants, with your husband, with your children, little more than you would probably do. Night sleep tends to become lesser. तो पहले आप अच्छे से सो सकते थे, but आजकल रात में उठ जाते हो, अजीब आपको ख्याल आते हैं रात में, and you suddenly wonder कि जिंदगी में ऐसा क्या हो गया. The skin tends to get more dry. So that is again one symptom of menopause. There is vaginal dryness as well. So, you start putting on a little bit of a weight as well. So these, I would say, are the broad symptoms of menopause. Something else you asked?
The second part is, does one need to consult a gynecologist for menopause?
I think you should consult a gynecologist for every small little thing. No. So I truly feel that everyone should have health checkups done every year. And the menopause segment is a special segment where, some problems can happen and so on and so forth. And sometimes for you to understand if this is normal or abnormal becomes difficult. So it's always good to consult a gynecologist. Having said that, menopause is a natural, normal phenomena. We don't need to treat it like a disease. Every single woman is going to go through menopause at some point in time or the other. So no, just because you've had menopause, you don't need to see a gynecologist, but it should be part of your regular routine checkups.
Are there any complications to menopause? If yes, how to deal with them? I think you've answered a part of it.
Yes, I think if I were to deal with one question or one point, one complication of menopause, that would be osteoporosis. So osteoporosis is nothing but our bones becoming more brittle. Why does that happen? After the age of 30, our bone, stops to take in more calcium, or it does, but lesser amounts. So it starts to become not so thick, not so strong as it was till before the age of 30. Once women are above 40, 45, these bones become even more brittle. Once menopause happens, it becomes even worse. We keep talking about diabetes, blood pressure, cancer, and, all those kinds of diseases. And we don't realize that, in the olden age, you have mothers, grandmothers, or grandfathers suddenly falling down and breaking a leg or breaking a bone, and they don't heal their bones after that. And we don't understand why. It all happens because of osteoporosis. So risk of fractures is much higher after menopause. And osteoporosis related fractures kill more people than diabetes, blood pressure, and cancer put together. It's far more dangerous than all of them, which is why osteoporosis needs to be looked into.
Well, someone has asked, how do you know that menopause has arrived? Like, you say कि love हुआ तो कुछ घंटी बजती है. It's like menopause. Does it give you some signal that menopause has arrived?
जब घर में बहुत सारी घंटियां बजने लग जाएंगी, तो you know that the woman in the house has achieved menopause. I'm sorry for cracking a joke on this. No, medically speaking, the woman is going to understand that she's starting to have symptoms. But having said that, this perimenopause phase, wherein you have symptoms, it could be 6 months before you achieve menopause. It could be 5 years before you achieve menopause. But if I were to go by the classical definition of menopause, if a woman has stopped having periods for 1 year, we would call her to be having menopause. That's the simplest definition of having menopause. There are blood tests, etc., that we can do, but the blood tests can only point towards menopause. So say, for example, I've done a blood test for a particular woman and the value is abnormal. And if the woman does not tell me if she stopped periods, I can tell her, oh, you know what, your blood tests are abnormal. You're probably going towards menopause. I can't tell her that she's definitely had menopause. So you have to go by the classic definition that if you stop periods for 1 year, then you're probably menopausal. But if there is confusion, we can do blood tests to corroborate that.
Okay, you have answered the next two questions. The questions were, are there any testings to confirm menopause? What tests we can do to menopause? So I think you've covered that. Now yes. A little more on menopause. By what age is it normal to have? And after what does it become risky? Like, if it is delayed, let's say delayed menopause, when is it risky and what is the normal age to have menopause?
Right. So the average Indian age for menopause is about 48. That does not mean that it has to happen at that time itself. Excuse me. There are some women who lose their eggs at the age of 25, and we have women who have menopause at 25 as well. But the average age is 48. There is no age at which we can say, oh, you know what, this is definitely abnormal. But what you could do is find out in your family as to what age did the other women achieve menopause. For example, if you were to ask your mother, your own Masi, your blood Masi, if you have an elder sister, and what age did they achieve menopause? So say, for example, the average age was 48, and all of them achieved menopause at 52. You can safely say that the average age in your family is 52. So you need not worry. Does it mean you don't need investigations? I will still come back and say that you will need to keep yourself in tune with a doctor. He will probably understand if there is a problem or not, or if you require a test. So when should it be considered abnormal? If the average age in your family is say 48 or 50, and you're now at 52, and you've still not achieved menopause, you should go to a doctor. The doctor will run certain tests, and then we can tell you if things are all right. You can't do without a gynecologist.
Okay, the next question, it's a long one, but I'll just ask the question as it has come. I'm going through menopause. Last time I had my periods was in September 2019. I have these hot flushes, especially in the night, where I start sweating, even with the AC on. And I have been having these bursts of pimples or breaks, only the right side of my chin. It's like 2 or 3 of them are always there. How can I treat myself?
So this perimenopause phase, as I said, she's still not in classical menopause because 1 year hasn't passed by. She's in the perimenopause phase, but all the symptoms have started coming, the irritability, the hot flushes, etc., etc. My suggestion to everyone who's above the age of 40, that you need to start looking out for menopause. It's going to happen, it's going to come. And you need to start preparing for it. How do you start preparing? Exercise. Get your body to be more lean. The leaner the body, the lesser problems you will have. Start taking vitamins. The closer to menopause, probably you know that the mental irritability and stuff like that is going to come. We need to calm our minds. Maybe meditation might help you in this kind of a situation. For this lady, I would also suggest seeing a dietitian. There are certain estrogen-rich foodstuffs, like say soya bean, which can, kind of drive that little estrogen back into your system and can help you with the hot flushes. That's number one. I've already told you about the exercise and weight loss and meditation and so on and so forth. If all of that is not helping, there are some vitamins which we doctors give, which also contain something called isoflavones, which are a bit of natural estrogens, which can help you. If nothing else works, we will probably have to think about hormone replacement therapy.
Okay, now coming to the next question. My daughter
Jiten was
15
trying to say something.
Saroj, a second. In the meanwhile, people who want to ask questions, please raise your hand. We'll put you in queue. So that once this session is over, we can ask you to unmute yourself and ask questions. And Kavita, please, you're also following the question on the chat, Saroj?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so if you get...
We already have a lot of questions. So by the time of this session, let's finish these and maybe whoever is live. Then we go back to the chat questions because we already have almost more than 50 questions lined up.
Really? 50 questions lined up already? Awesome, man.
And they're going to be all long, this thing. So let's just go ahead.
Yeah.
I'm feeling very important and tired at the same time.
Okay. The question I was coming to was, my daughter is 15 years old. She suffers from acute stomach cramps and pains in her thighs during her periods. It affects her daily schedule every month. She sleeps at night almost in a sitting position, as lying down aggravates the pain during that period. So, yes, I think there was a sub part of it. I missed it. One second, sorry. Yeah. Is this pain normal or indicates to some gynecological problem? If normal, what can be done to get relief from it?
So, pain during periods at any age, which is going to affect your day-to-day life, cannot be normal. Normally, women do have painful periods and it tends to go away. I'm not going to get into that long discussion. We're going to specifically keep to this. So this young girl who finds pain so debilitating that she can't sleep, she can't go to school, etc. It can happen because of hormonal disbalances. What we normally do is try and regularize a cycle. Such girls usually don't have regular cycles. We try and regularize her cycles. Or, they have sometimes what is called a progesterone deficiency in the second half of the cycle. So we supplement them with progesterone medications, and that sometimes takes the pain away. If that also doesn't work, we give them some very simple, mild painkillers during pregnancy, and that sometimes helps. I would definitely advise this mother to, seek gynecological help. Ultrasound needs to be done. One of the areas that we are scared about, we are worried about when anyone comes forward with severe pain during periods is a disease called endometriosis. In endometriosis, normally, if I were to explain, during periods, the menstrual blood is nothing but the lining of the womb coming out of the uterus through the vagina. So it's just the lining of the womb. But in some cases, if that lining of the womb starts to move backwards and through the fallopian tube goes into the tummy and starts to fall there, is when we have a condition called endometriosis. It can cause severe pain during periods, severe pain during intercourse, heavier periods, etc., etc. It's a tough disease. Sometimes if you do an ultrasound, you can actually see big cysts sitting on ovaries and we can make a diagnosis. So this girl requires an ultrasound. She needs a visit to the gynecologist. We can give some medicines to regularize her periods, and we can give her some simple painkillers. One of these things usually helps.
Okay, there's another question. A very dear friend has asked, dysmenorrhea issues in young girls, 18 years. USG says all good. Why and how to tackle? We only know about hot compress and menstrual spas.
So as I said before, one needs to try and identify the problem. Ultrasound needs to be done to rule out endometriosis. Then again, there are 2-3 other things. For example, there is something like a pelvic infection. So if one has an infection in the pelvis, sometimes even a urine infection can lead to severe pain. So if you're not finding any other problem, we sometimes just give a course of antibiotic, maybe 14 days or 7 days to that girl. And sometimes just giving the antibiotic clears off the problem. One other problem which can cause severe pain during periods is a small little tumor or fibroid sitting inside the uterus. And every time the woman has periods, the uterus tries to kind of throw that fibroid out of the body, which, you know, जिसको कहते हैं निचोड़ के निकालने की कोशिश करती है uterus, and which is why the severe pain happens. So the treatment, whether she is 12, 13 years old or 18 years old, is not going to be much different. The only difference is going to be at the age of 13 or 12, we normally don't like to give oral contraceptive pills. But at age 18, we'll be happy to give oral contraceptive pills to that girl. Believe you me, they work like magic. Someone who probably suffered every single month will be miraculously cured with the oral contraceptive pills, and they can be taken very safely.
Now coming to the question, I think which every mother is like, who has a daughter experiences, PMSing is a problem with my daughter, irritation, crying bouts, anxiety, feeling low, or her traits. How can she overcome this? Is there any way of overcoming it?
Jiten, can I give a very simple answer to this if you allow me? I have a podcast, as Kavita mentioned. This very morning, I've recorded an entire podcast on PMS. I'm sorry, I will not answer it. Please go and listen to the podcast. No, but you know, almost 80% of women will have some symptoms or the other throughout their life during the time of periods, which could be from being irritable to having headaches, migraine, bloating, and what have you. Some women I've even known to have something as bizarre as having fever every time they are close to their periods. However, these are erratic symptoms. As per the definition of PMS or premenstrual syndrome, only 40% will come under that particular criteria. So about 40% of women will experience PMS sometime in their lives. Out of them, about 8% of them will experience severe symptoms. Unfortunately, there's a lot of jokes and memes which goes about, PMS, but it's a very, very serious problem. It needs to be addressed. I think for everything in life, it should start from exercising, because exercise releases certain happy hormones, which is going to really work as the best antidepressant. 2, try and find out the trigger factors which aggravate your PMS. Say, for example, late nights, alcohol, chocolates, excessive coffee. Try and avoid those. To the husbands, I would say, for the special woman in your life, try and understand that the hormones are going all over at this point in time. It's not really easy for women to battle periods as well as this hormonal disbalance at this point in time. So a lot of tender loving care is required by the women. So that part is required. Sometimes diet helps. So, you can speak to a nutritionist, you can make out a chart for you. So that is going to help. If all these things are not helping you, oral contraceptive pills again are fantastic. Why so? Because premenstrual syndrome happens because your hormones are raging all over the place. What does oral contraceptive pill do? Because it contains the hormones in a fixed combination, all this up and down of the hormone is brought down to one steady level. The moment the hormones become one steady level, the PMS might disappear. So that becomes the first line if other things are not solving the problem. If the oral contraceptive pills are also not solving the problem, then there are some medicines which can pump these happy hormones into your system. And we do believe that mental health is just as or maybe more important than the health of all the other organs in the body. Don't stigmatize it. Don't don't taboo it. Don't say that going to a shrink or a psychologist means that you're probably mad or half mad. So a psychologist can really help here. A psychiatrist can really help here by prescribing you the right medication. These medications can be taken just before the periods, or it can be taken throughout the month as well. So there is a lot of help which is available. Do not ignore it. Do not brush it under the carpet. Look after yourself. I know you have to look after your husbands, your children, and all the other small little children in the house, including your in-laws. But take some time out for yourself. Come and see a gynecologist. And we'll do something about it.
One question here, sir. एक तो सर ऐसा है ना कि we've had several doctors here one after another, and every doctor says, "Come and see me, come and see me." Where are we going to end up? Do you understand?
Like Jiten, so when we friends meet, And even with other people, when you meet in a social gathering, everyone tends to say, "Sir, कितने दिनों से दुकान नहीं आए सर, भाभी जी के लिए साड़ी खरीद लीजिए." ज्वेलरी वाला कहता है, "सर, कितने दिनों से दुकान नहीं आए, भाभी जी के लिए ज्वेलरी खरीद लीजिए." What am I going to say? So this is what I say. कितने दिनों से आपके बच्चे नहीं हुए? कभी आओ, बीमारी नहीं पड़े आप.
अच्छा, एक मिनट, Saroj, I'll interrupt you here. We have somebody asking to ask a question. Vanita ji, I'm unmuting you. Vanita ji, you can say.
Hello.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, can't see you but hear you.
Yeah, doctor. Very good afternoon.
Hi, good afternoon.
Yeah, actually, this is a question. I don't know whether, this happens to me not very regularly, but then achanak se in the night, I urinate.
Okay.
And I don't know why I do this. Matlab, abhi jaise, is it because I'm overweight or what is the reason? I don't know. Ek do baar hua hai sath.
So, like any other problem in life or in your workplace, health related problems are also the same. You need to start from the basics. You need to understand, okay, are you overweight? Well, we won't say that, okay, you know what? Weight is the only issue, but we need to try and see if the weight can be brought down. Then we need to understand, are you having diabetes? Do you have blood sugar? Because that also can create a problem. We need to understand if there is a urine infection, because that can also create a problem. Say diabetes or blood sugar, diabetes or your weight can actually cause a relaxation of the muscles in the pelvis. So what happens is the urinary bladder sits on sort of an imaginary hammock. You know what a hammock is. ये पालना जिसको हम कहते हैं समझ लो, या झूला कहते हैं, on these muscles. For whatever reasons, if these muscles become relaxed, then we will not be able to control our urine. So if these muscles become relaxed, this kind of a problem can also happen. This kind of a problem will require a gynecologist and a urologist. A urologist is someone who deals with the kidney, ureter, and the urinary bladder specifically because he has a specialization in this matter. So he runs certain tests called a uroflowmetry. I'm not going to get into details regarding that. So between us, we try and figure out where exactly the problem lies. And then stepwise, we try and solve the problem. You could also read up about something called Femilift, which is a laser therapy, which is done in the vagina, which kind of causes new collagen formation, new blood vessels formation. It causes tightening of the muscles in the vagina, and the urine leak can also stop. There are some fantastic medicines which can be given, which again, the gynecologist, urologist team would be able to give you. So, this is only how broadly I can answer your question, because otherwise it would require a very specific kind of an approach once you're seen by your gynecologist and your urologist. So speak to your gynecologist, speak to a good urologist, ask them to form a team together and look after you.
Okay. Thanks a lot, doctor.
Thank you.
Most welcome.
Please mute yourself. Please mute.
Yeah. Thank you.
We have someone here, Rajiv ji, I want you to meet him. Dr. Anjan Siotia. Dr. Anjan Siotia.
Hi, Anjan.
Hi, Rajiv da.
Hi.
Fantastic session. Enjoying it so far.
I can't see
you. I've forgotten all my gynecology. Thank you for reminding me.
You just taught me about the heart a little while back, so I have to teach you gynecology here.
I know. Yes, returning the favor. Well done.
They're all interconnecting organs, heart and wherever he's going, all interconnected. He'll see where pahunchte log.
See, because without his work, it's only when the heart starts to connect is when the babies are born. So without his work, my work doesn't happen.
Yeah,
it all starts with me and ends with him. That's what he's saying.
Please be around. Please be around.
I am.
Good.
Silently watching, enjoying the show.
Good. Saroji, back to you for the questions.
Okay, this is Rajiv's favorite subject, PCOS. Rajiv, short answers, please. I have a question for Dr. Rajiv Agarwal. My daughter has PCOD for last 15 years. She has been on metformin and Cresanta. Sometimes she takes breaks for a few months. Her weight is on the higher side, but she can't seem to control it. More so now because she has developed thyroid. Her periods are erratic. She is getting married in a few months. How do we tackle this situation?
Okay. So I do believe that polycystic ovarian disease is a genetic problem you inherited from your mother, and you're going to probably pass it to your daughter as well. However, the manifestations of polycystic ovarian syndrome don't happen with everyone, meaning to say that you might have the genetic kind of link in your body, but those switches of delayed periods, weight gain, acne may not be flipped on for everyone. It just might be flipped on in your body for any particular reason. When we have these patients, mothers or children coming in talking about polycystic ovarian syndrome, I always tell them 70% of the treatment is in your hands, only 30% is in my hands. What does that 70% mean? You have to exercise and you have to follow a good diet. When I say exercise, moving your hands around and doing free hand exercises is not going to help. You have to go to a gym. You have to follow various routines, whether it is dancing, whether it is Zumba, whether it is any other form of exercise which is going to make you burn a hell of a lot of calories. You have to exercise. It has to become part of your lifestyle, number one. Number two, diet. Does not mean you tell yourself that, oh, you know what, I eat healthy. I've just looked up a few websites and I know what is healthy. You have to be with a particular nutritionist of your choice and follow a healthy diet. Where does my role come in? As this lady says, her child has a thyroid problem. So polycystic ovarian disease has two associated hormones. One is prolactin hormone problems and thyroid. Both can cause period irregularities as well as weight gain. So my job is to control them. Once all this is taken care of and we say, okay, fine, the woman has done everything, but the weight is not going down, then we either add oral contraceptive pills or we add drugs like metformin. And these then help to get over that particular block. This lady also says that my daughter is going to get married in a couple of months. I would strongly recommend her to consult a gynecologist and put her on oral contraceptive pills. A, because it helps control the polycystic ovaries. B, it is the best form of contraception. She's going to require a contraception as well after she gets married. 3, because she has irregular periods. You wouldn't want the periods coming right in the middle of marriage or her honeymoon, and the oral contraceptive pills will regularize that. I hope my wife that I've managed to give a short answer to this. She actually has to tell me that, "Kam bola karo yaar, kitna bolte ho?"
How do you remember the questions like aise jawab dena humko? You're so used to giving that answer. Rata answer tha ye.
Jiten, you need to train him well. I've done that.
Yeah, I know. Okay, I would also request Shilpi ji to say a hi. Shilpi ji, she did a wonderful job yesterday and she's around.
Hi, Shilpi.
Unmuted her. एक मिनट. हाँ, हो गया, yeah. Hi, Shilpi, how are you?
I'm good. Great going, Doc. Loving your sense of humor. Yeah, great. So I have this question, many a times, although I'm just a dentist, but patients, they talk and they want to understand. Many times patients come and they say whether we should, when they're having an issue, the females, should they be coming to a gynecologist or a urologist? Many a times they have
a urine infection. Urine infection, did you say?
Yeah, urine infection, burning sensations.
Right. So I think it should start with a gynecologist. Okay. And thank you for bringing up this thing. I feel most of the urine infections are treated wrongly because, what people do is start an antibiotic immediately when they have a slight burning sensation in the urine. Yeah. And you have to understand that particular antibiotic may not be the right antibiotic for the urine infection. If at all there is a urine infection, but because it's an antibiotic, the infection gets suppressed. The moment the infection gets suppressed, you stop the antibiotic and the infection flares up again and you wonder why you're getting recurrent urine infection. The infection actually wasn't recurrent. It was a persistent. The infection never went away in the first place. So a gynecologist would be the right person to deal with it in the first place. Yes, sometimes we do feel that we've ruled out diabetes. We've looked at the infection. We've treated the infection in the right manner, yet the problem is not going away. Then we refer to a urologist because the urologist tries to find out certain specific problems. Since Shilpi, you're a doctor and you're asking this question, I will tell you very specifically. The urologist will do a uroflowmetry because sometimes the urethral passage for normal viewers, the passage through which the urine comes out, sometimes that is very narrow. And because of that narrow passage, urine does not flow out too well. It tends to collect at the back. And because of the collection of urine, the infection happens. This is something I may not be able to figure out so well. A urologist will be able to figure out much better. And the moment he dilates the passage, the problem will go away. So step 1, gynecologist. Step 2 would be your urologist. I hope that answers the question.
Perfect. I think so. I'll be able to refer 1 or 2 females from my practice towards yours.
Thank you. But Shilpi, I have a question for you before you ask a question.
Go ahead.
Is it an essential criteria to have good teeth when you want to become a dentist? Are there dentists with bad teeth? And how do they practice? Do you have someone looking up to a dentist saying, "Aapke daant kitne gande hain? Aap mera kaise theek karoge?" types? Has it ever happened to it?
मैं बोलूंगी थोड़े बहुत ठीक-ठाक हैं.
No, you have brilliant set of 32. But what I mean to say is, did you have colleagues and friends who had bad teeth and one always wondered कि ये बेचारा practice कैसे करेगा?
नहीं, आई एम श्योर पेशेंट बेचारा इतना डरा हुआ होता है, वो क्या तो डॉक्टर की स्माइल देखेगा चेयर पे बैठ के. आधे से ज्यादा का यही हाल हो रहा होता है.
But it's so nice to see such a forum with so many doctors together. Yeah, thank you.
Shilpi, you were asking a question.
Yeah, one more thing, question. See, women on the other side of 45, what tests they should be doing regularly and how often? This is something so important and which gets ignored. Even in my own circle, I will say, I may be saying, but it will be nice coming from your mouth and proper guidance.
Dr. Shilpi, thank you for bringing this up. I've been saying this from the beginning of this show today, that regular health checkups are very important. And what happens is we get our tests done very erratically. So a woman says she's feeling cold. Someone says, "Acha, thyroid check karwa lo." She gets a thyroid tested. Couple of months later, she has a urine problem and says, "Acha, urine culture karwa lo." Then someone says, "Acha, peet mein darad hai, ek ultrasound karwa lo." And it's in a very erratic manner, which is why health checkups have been designed. So say, for example, there is a well woman checkup, which is going to deal with doing an ultrasound, doing a urine routine culture, doing a pap smear, doing a breast examination, a liver function test, a kidney function test, a hemoglobin, sugar. So you know that you've completed the entire round of tests. In my family, what we do, Saroj and myself, is we round everyone up in the family, and January is our annual testing month. So we remember and we get the annual checkup done for everyone, which comprises of all the tests. And I know Anjan mentioned on one of his shows, and he's not going to agree with me. We'll probably have a fight over this. But I do believe that after the age of 40, some bit of, a cardiac thing should also be brought in, getting your cholesterol checked and ECG and stuff like that. Then, of course, Anjan is there. I'm sorry, I'm not going to get onto that subject. But if you have, like for my parents, after speaking to Anjan, I get certain tests done. Then we go and visit Anjan, and he replies to say what needs to be done, or reports kaise hain. So this health checkup needs to be done every single year, and that is how you're going to get into preventive medicine. That is preventing problems even before they happen.
So you mean to say the females have to undergo the ultrasound, pap smear, and mammo annually?
No.
It is a must.
No. So a pap smear could be done every 2 years. Okay. Earlier, we would say that mammography after the age of 40 should happen every year. But now the guidelines are saying that, why expose them to X-ray every year? But if you're talking about the breast, I would say breast self-examination is the most important. A woman will understand first if she has a problem. So she needs to do an examination of the breast at least once in the month when she showers, both when she showers as well as lying down. If she finds a problem, then she goes to her gynecologist. That is number one. Number two, an ultrasound of the breast should be done every year.
That was my next question. Thanks, Doc.
Yes. And every 2 years, maybe, an X-ray breast could be done just to rule out that some things which the palpation or the, self-examination or the doctor examination or the ultrasound might have missed out can be picked up by the X-ray mammography. But so pap smear again every 2 years, yes.
Every 2 years, and ultrasound every year is fine.
Every single year, yes.
Done. And accordingly, we can go ahead. Okay,
yes.
Thanks.
Yes.
Thanks, Doc.
Next question. Dr. Sir, now keep the answers short because you're already 1 year into the session. 1 hour into the session.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Am I supposed to answer? Someone raising a hand, we can take a question from there.
Your question.
Okay. So what is the difference between fibroadenoma and fibroadenosis? Are they harmful, and can they be diluted by medicine?
Okay. What she's talking about is a lump in the breast, which can be either a fibroadenoma or a fibroadenosis. Fibroadenoma is classically called a mouse of the breast. If one were to palpate that, the tumor slips under the hand, and it's absolutely harmless. It happens to young girls quite often. Nothing needs to be done about it. And the lump is probably not going to cause any problem at all. Fibroadenosis, on the other hand, is hormonally dependent. Every time the woman has periods, the fibroadenosis could cause a problem in terms of pain. Both of them do not cause cancer, do not cause any other problem. You need to visit a gynecologist for the fibroadenosis. If at all it is causing pain during periods, some medicines can be given and things can get better.
There are two questions on a similar line. I'm just asking as it is, as the question has arrived. When approaching menopause, is it normal to lose interest in indulging in sex? Not able to frame the question properly, is it okay to ask, or you can use your words? And someone else has asked, when approaching menopause, is it normal to lose interest in indulging in intercourse?
Yes, because if we understand that menopause happens when the estrogen hormone, the female hormone, starts to go down, and consequently the male hormone starts to go up in the body. So if the female hormone is going to go down, it is but normal to have a reduction in the sexual drive as well. So I think that's very, very normal.
Okay. A 51-year-old lady has got her menstrual cycles back after 18 months. She is diabetic and hypertensive. She has been advised pause 500 for 3 days, 9 tablets. Is it safe and normal? And what should be her next step?
There are certain things, like for example, if you have smoke in the house, you need to go looking for the fire. You don't just ignore the smoke. So anyone, as I said, the definition of menopause is not having periods for 1 year. So if after menopause one has bleeding, it is to be turned abnormal until proved otherwise. So post-menopausal bleeding, that is bleeding in this case at 18 months, is abnormal until proved otherwise. She needs to visit a gynecologist. Do not suppress it just with medicines unless it is heavy bleeding. We're in a lockdown situation, you're not being able to visit a gynecologist, then it's separate. But otherwise, this requires something called a hysteroscopy, putting a telescope through the vagina into the womb to look at the inside of the womb, take a biopsy from there to rule out cancer. 99% it's not cancer. For that 1%, one needs to do a hysteroscopy.
Okay, I think you've answered this question. Is it safe to go out for testing now during these times?
Well, it depends on what the problem is like. If you're saying health checkup, no, do not go out. If there is a problem like this post-menopausal bleeding, and we don't know how long the lockdown is going to last or the coronavirus is going to last, please visit your gynecologist. We doctors are working day in and day out. It's not that we are sitting at home even during the coronavirus We will look after you.
Okay. How safe is it to take Primulert to postpone the periods, as young girls sometimes do, to postpone their monthly cycles?
If it's been taken once in a while, there is absolutely no problem. You're not going to have a long-term effect of it. But if you're taking it every now and then, it's going to be harmful.
What causes delayed periods? If someone is having PCOD and hyperthyroidism, is it something to worry about? Does it cause problem while planning baby? And what is the cure to PCOD?
It's a genetic problem. It can never be cured. 2, it's a very common problem. It's almost as common as Papu in Punjab. So almost every other woman is going to have polycystic ovaries. It's an Asian problem. Because it's genetic, you can't treat it. It's not going to go away. You can control it. We've already spoken about the various things we can do to control it. We've spoken about the thyroid issues as well. Yes, women with polycystic ovaries may have difficulty in conceiving, but I have mothers and mother-in-laws coming in and saying, oh, मेरी बेटी को polycystic ovaries है, शादी हुई है, मैंने उनको कहा है कि आप टाइम मत वेस्ट करो, पहले ही 6 महीने से बच्चे करने की कोशिश करो, ऐसा नहीं है. As long as you're dealing with the problem in a scientific manner, there is no reason to believe that she will necessarily have difficulty in conceiving. The point of the matter is polycystic ovary needs to be controlled, whether she's married, unmarried, wanting to have a child, or not wanting to have a child.
Okay. When and what vitamins and supplements to starting from 18 years to mine 45?
I think, sorry.
There is a polling going on. Relax, Dr. Rajiv. It's okay. Polling, you're just checking out what are you scoring. Not bad, buddy. You scored 94% so far.
Fantastic. You're making me feel like I'm taking an exam.
Yeah, you are actually doing that. 95% so far. Not bad, not bad. Come on, guys. Give your opinion. कोई तो बोलो, कुछ खराब बोलो इसके लिए.
So I think even young children who play out in the sun, when we test them for vitamin D, we realize everyone is vitamin D deficient. So I think vitamin D is something that everyone should be taking no matter what the age. After the age of 30, I think one should be adding calcium supplementation as well. More so important after the age of 40. I think multivitamins again are important. If not after the age of 30, after the age of 40, for sure, one should be taking multivitamins as well. For those who are vegetarians, because B12 may not be there in your diet, you should be taking B12 supplementation as well after speaking to your general physician. This is the only time you go to a general physician. For everything else, come to a gynecologist.
Okay. The next question is, I'm age 42 years. I have one son by C-section. He is 13 years old. 1 week before my periods, I feel very bloated and full left side of my body aches badly. Also, innumerable times I urinate at night.
Well, by and large, this does seem like a premenstrual syndrome problem again. So again, I would like to, if I were to approach treatment for this lady, I would start from the basics. As I said, diet, exercise, water restriction, urine routine culture, because she's having a urine problem. Look into the sugars again and see if that is going to help. The PMS part that she's talking about could be easily solved with these problems, with these measures. I don't know if just a night urine problem could be solved with these measures or not. I would probably involve a urologist just to understand if there is a specific problem. Maybe restriction of water, as we spoke about for that pregnant lady as well, would help. Again, if nothing helps, Femilift or the vaginal laser might just help brilliantly for such conditions.
I think you've answered this. I'm just asking the question because someone has asked, menopause, any right age? It happens earlier, then what to do? HRT, is it needed? His take on it and side effects of HRT.
Okay, I think we will bypass the first part of the question because we've already discussed that. We've already spoken about how delayed can menopause be. I said that some people achieve menopause even at the age of 25. For them, it becomes even more dangerous because we've spoken about osteoporosis happening with menopause. So obviously, when you achieve menopause at an earlier age, the risk of osteoporosis becomes even more. So these people have to take vitamin D, calcium, maybe even hormone replacement therapy. Now, coming to whether hormone replacement therapy is harmful, necessary. Now, earlier, till maybe 10, 15 years back, we would give hormone replacement therapy blindly and as a blanket therapy to everyone. Nowadays, it's not done so. See, if a woman is naturally going through menopause, she's not having any major symptoms, or if she's having problems and she says, these are small little problems, I can deal with them, we will not give hormone replacement therapy. However, if we feel that the problems are really disrupting her normal life or her life with her family members, then hormone replacement therapy is going to be required. Having said that, why are we scared of hormone replacement therapy? Is because some hormone replacement therapy, if not given in the correct manner, can lead to higher chances of breast cancer and uterine cancer. Again, it is not a blanket thing that hormone replacement therapy dene se hi turant cancer ho jayega. There is only a small perceptible increase in the risk, which again, if your gynecologist is giving you in the right manner and you're not self-medicating, there is going to be no problem. Again, the various studies which were done and which showed that there is a higher risk of cancer had two flaws. A, those hormone replacement therapies were given for more than 5 years, which is not how we normal gynecologists give. We give it for 6 months to a year and a half. So that study can't be brought into comparison. Secondly, the study that was done on women who are above the age of 60, which anyways has a higher risk of cancers. And here we are talking about women above the age of 45 and 48 and 50, and a population which is not that high risk of cancer. So HRT is safe as long as it is given by your gynecologist. He or she knows exactly how to give it and when to withdraw it. I think Dr. Shilpi has raised a hand. She wants to ask a question.
No, this was the question, this is a normal talk and always a dilemma, the topic, of discussion between women. Hormone replacement therapy, लेना चाहिए नहीं लेना चाहिए, oh god side effect होगा, you know.
True.
So very well answered, doc. Thanks. This is
Thank
putting
you.
a lot of
Thank you, Dr.
questions
Shilpi.
and you know, to rest. Thank you.
Thank you.
Rajiv, now coming to some questions on infertility and like, does smoking and alcohol affect fertility?
Smoking, yes, 100% it affects and can cause infertility, both for the men as well as the women. So men have to understand that just, everything can't be about the women. Smoking will mess up with your sperms. Alcohol, as long as it is social drinking, it's fine. It's not going to be a problem. There shouldn't be any binge drinking. Hookah is very bad again.
Chances of high-risk pregnancy when you're older than 30.
Sorry, please come again.
Chances of high-risk pregnancy when you're older than 30.
So I don't think 30 is that particular age after which everything starts to go wrong. And this was again the adage maybe 10 years back. Today, 40 is the new 30. So there are more and more women who are getting pregnant above the age of 35. If you're worried about complications in pregnancy, please keep yourself fit. I have delivered someone at 56 as well, and she went through pregnancy like a breeze. So I don't think age is any bar anymore. Yes, the chances of complication do increase after the age of 35, more after the age of 40, more after the age of 45. But what are the complications we're talking about? Diabetes and blood pressure. But if you've kept yourself fit, if you've kept yourself healthy, if you eat a good diet, maybe your chances might be higher of having a complication, but not that much.
Someone has asked, I am missing periods for 4-5 months in a row. Is it harmful?
Depends on what age you are at. If it's a young woman, it's more likely to be a polycystic ovarian problem, a thyroid disease. If you've ruled all those out, or even if you have a problem and they've been controlled and corrected, no. Just because you're having fewer periods does not mean that is going to be a problem. Don't focus on the periods. Focus on why the periods are coming that late. If it's polycystic ovarian syndrome or disease, focus on controlling that disease. However, as you grow older, and you say, okay, all my life, if I've been having frequent periods, can that cause a problem later on in my life? Yes, it can. When you have such few periods, that means one hormone, which is estrogen, is acting more than the other hormone, which is progesterone. So if estrogen keeps acting on your body all through life, the same problems of hormone replacement therapy can happen. There is a slightly higher risk of having cancers of the womb, that is uterine cancer, if it has been happening all through life. So in an older woman, if this is happening, I would probably want to control or regulate her periods a little more than probably in a young woman.
Since I was about to say that, as I'm co-hosting the show, like Papa JC, let me say, Dr. Saab, thoda pani pee lijiye. You have been talking since long now.
There is one question that's very interesting. I have to ask you this question. Is male menopause a myth or a fact?
Thank you, JC, for bringing up this. No one really bothers about the men at all. You guys never host a show for the men.
How I wish I could answer this.
No, male menopause is an absolute truth. Unfortunately, it is never discussed. From irritability to having a midlife crisis to loss of libido, and everything else, starts to happen to men. I think the only thing which gets better is because men tend to lose more hair with more male hormone. So in their late 30s, probably they'll lose more hair. But once you become after 45, your libido goes away, but your hair remains. So probably you can kind of offset saying कि ठीक है चलो erection गया तो गया लेकिन कम से कम बाल बचे हुए हैं. That's the only solace you can have.
So I think it's well answered. Huh? Somebody asked in the chat. Are we also following the chat, Sarojji? Because you have.
Yes, I am. There are a lot of questions there, but I thought let me just finish one set of questions, then I'll go to the chat.
You play with both now.
Okay, I'll do that. Okay, let me just take this last question from this, sir. A woman diagnosed with high prolactin levels in her 20s has 2 grown-up sons now. Has had irregular periods all her life. How will she know she has attained menopause? Currently suffering from arthritis 2, doesn't want to take HRT. Does menopause lead to deterioration in bone health? Is it essential to take supplements after menopause? I think you've answered most of it, but yes.
So irregular periods at a younger age, we've already discussed that. I'm not going to get into details of that. Prolactin hormone elevation by itself is not a disease. Don't treat it. Don't do anything about it. unless you're planning to have more babies. If you're above the age of 40, 45, 48, 50, and you're still having periods, then the gynecologist, as I said, will do ultrasound tests for you, understand what is the age at which your family members have achieved menopause, and then we can bring in those tests as well. And based on your ultrasound, based on your family history, based on those blood reports, we can try and put it all together to say, are you at the age of having menopause or not? Again, if you've not achieved menopause and you're still having your periods even at the age of 52, the only thing we are scared about is cancers of the uterus, that is the womb. One needs to investigate for that.
I don't know whether you can answer this. Hair fall, mood swings, how to control? You couldn't control mine, so I don't know how you're going to control these.
So hair fall can happen because of a couple of reasons. We found that iron deficiency causes hair fall. So whenever you have hair fall, do get your iron levels or ferritin levels tested. If your iron levels are lesser, make sure you get them corrected. Number one, women with polycystic ovarian syndrome or disease have more male hormones. Because of the more male hormones, they have more hair fall. That can cause hair fall. 3, if you have a thyroid disease, get your thyroid levels tested, get it controlled. That can lead to hair fall. Stomach troubles, dandruff, etc., etc. We're going into cosmetology. We'll have to speak to a skin specialist regarding that. Those can cause hair fall. So all these put together, one needs to look into it. Sometimes a simple biotin deficiency can also cause hair fall. So there are various vitamin combinations which have biotin in them. If you take those kind of vitamins again, the problem could be sorted out. So as I said, for everything, start from the basic, work your way upwards, and somewhere a solution will be found.
Okay, this is a question from the chat. I had a total hysterectomy at the age of 46. I'm on Sibolone tablets since then. Have increased weight after that. Is it cause of this HRT? How safe is it to take these medicines? What other precautions do I take? Kindly guide me.
What medicine is she on? I'm sorry, I lost you there.
Sibolone.
Sibolone. Okay. So after hello?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah. So Tibolone or Sibolone that she is on is a designer estrogen. What it does is it replaces the estrogen back in her system without, why we call it designer is it's going to have the positive effect on the bone. It's going to have a positive effect on the brain, but we don't want the bad effects on the uterus and the breast. So it's not going to give a bad effect on the uterus and the breast. So that is why we call it a designer estrogen, number one. Number two, why was it given? It was given because when you have a uterus removal, suddenly all your hormones disappear. So the problems of menopause suddenly come on, your body does not get a time to adjust. So the symptoms of irritability and hot flashes, etc., are more after a surgical removal of the uterus than normal menopause. But these symptoms don't last beyond usually 6 months to a year. So please don't take them endlessly. You can probably stop them for some time and see if the problems are coming back. Most likely they will not. Also, if you are on these medications, your breast examination, the mammography, and all those other things must be looked into very, very carefully by a doctor. I hope you're consulting a doctor and you're not continuing the medication all by yourself.
Okay. There's another quite a long question, but I think it's quite valid. What does one do in case of PCOS, having taken medicines like Dian 35 and Yaz, as well as homeopathy? The ultrasound was clear after the homeopathy course, but she's showing the same symptoms: irregular periods, weight gain, acne, excessive hair growth, mood swings. Again, after 2 months of no such signs. She's 20 years old and she also has migraine.
Send her to a gym. My simple answer. So, the problem is people don't exercise. People keep going from doctor to doctor, expecting that the doctor is going to keep changing medications and things are going to get better. Please understand, it is not going to get better unless you have put in your 70%. I would like to, say one point here, very nicely brought out. This lady says, I did an ultrasound earlier. The ultrasound showed polycystic ovaries, and then I did an ultrasound and the polycystic ovaries are gone. Please understand that it is merely you've done it at 2 different places, or maybe there was gas in the tummy, or for whatever reason, the second sonologist could not pick up the polycystic ovaries. Once a polycystic ovary has been diagnosed, it is going to be there with you for life. Do not keep getting ultrasounds done every year. it is not going to show anything. You are the follow-up of polycystic ovaries is not by getting ultrasounds done. So if you have had, say, 5 symptoms in 2020, and you want to say in 2021, are you better? See how many of those 5 symptoms are still persisting with you. Are your periods more regular now? Has your acne disappeared? Have you lost weight, and so on and so forth? Doing an ultrasound is not going to help. Secondly, I also want to tell women, when is it that these features of ultrasound will disappear? So what are you doing when you're doing an ultrasound? You're counting the number of eggs which are there in the ovary in the ultrasound. Now, in a 20-year-old, you're going to have a lot of eggs. If the same lady gets an ultrasound done at 38, do you expect her to have a lot of eggs? Her eggs have disappeared. If you do it in a woman at the age of 45 or in a menopausal woman, her eggs have disappeared. So the ultrasound is not going to show the classical features of polycystic ovaries. But does it mean that the genetic problem or the polycystic ovarian syndrome, wherein she still has, and as you yourself said, my daughter still has the acne, my daughter still has irregular periods, she has all the other symptoms, because that never goes away. So do not look at ultrasounds again and again.
Okay, Doctor.
One.
Dr. Sabek, could you please mention your number, phone number? We need to people asking some secretary's number or somebody's number you want to.
So the number is 98364.
Yeah.
49004.
So it's 98634 49004, and your secretary?
98364 49004.
98364 49004. And who was the person?
Jaya Sharma.
Fine. Yeah, please continue.
Yeah, my age is 42 and I'm a migraine patient. Right before my periods, I suffer from these severe headaches and breast pain and sensitivity. My doctor has suggested to take a course of Primoza every alternate month and take Pause MF during my period. The headache continues after my period. Is it safe to take these medicines, or would you suggest something else?
Primoza is not going to help you with your headaches. Primoza is mainly for the breast pain. I've already discussed PMS. I'm not going to go and discuss it again. There is a series of things which you can do one after another, from exercising, from removing the trigger factors, improving your diet, and so on and so forth, for helping with the migraine. Now, if you're saying that the migraine is extending even beyond periods, and the classical thing is that it should disappear within the first 4 days. So if it is continuing after the first 4 days after periods, then it is not because of the PMS. You have a migraine problem. You need to speak to a neurologist and get proper treatment done for the migraine. For the painful periods, Pause MF is absolutely good. I think that's what medicine she said. It's absolutely safe. You can take it month after month.
There's another question that I've got periods after my menopause. Is it normal?
I've already answered that question. Please don't ignore it. Speak to your gynecologist, get it evaluated. It's cancer until proved otherwise.
Okay. If one has had 2 miscarriages, does it mean an underlying problem, even though USG doesn't show PCOD or any other problem?
Ultrasound is only one of the modalities of investigation. There is again a checklist of why miscarriages can happen, and one needs to follow that checklist from the beginning to end to understand if there is a recurrent reason for having the miscarriages, or whatever is the reason. So I don't think the question can be answered that simply. If it was just one miscarriage, I would have said ignore it, don't worry about it. Most likely the pregnancy would be all right the next time. But if it's 2 consecutive miscarriages, then I would say refer to your gynecologist. That checklist has to be brought out, and all the investigations need to be done. Only then we can understand. Don't base it merely on the ultrasound.
Okay. We have one hand raised. One hand raised by Rajesh Marwa. Rajesh Marwa, are you there?
Unmute him, please.
I have to unmute him. Can you please raise your hand again, Rajesh Marwa, please? Please raise your hand again, because I missed out.
Yes.
Unmute कर दो.
उनका बार-बार म्यूट हो जा रहा है.
तब तक आप कॉफी पी लो.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah. Hi Rajesh, how are you?
Programs. One question.
Yeah.
I would like to know that what are congenital defects? Is it related to pregnancy? Is it before pregnancy? Is it when the child is born? Or is it after he's born? Or is it in the womb? What is this congenital anomaly or childbirth defects?
Congenital anomalies can happen from, for example, a baby is happening by the union of the sperms from the father and the eggs from the mother. So if either of them have some congenital problems, that can be carried forward into the baby and can be passed on. Sometimes it may happen that the grandfather has a problem, and this genetic problem is skipping generation. So the grandfather had it, the father and his son did not have it, and then it comes into the offspring. These things can happen. Secondly, even if the mother and the father do not have any problem at all, there is always a possibility that at the time of the union of the egg and the sperm, some genetic defects happen in that embryo or the womb, or the baby or the fetus, and that can lead to congenital problems. Then again, what that mother does throughout her pregnancy, what she eats, what the medicine she takes, or the environment that she's going to be in, also is going to determine if the baby is going to have further defects in the pregnancy. So for example, if the mother, when she gets pregnant, has very high blood sugars, there is sometimes a chance of 44% that heart defects or defects of the spinal cord can happen. So everything from before pregnancy to the time of delivery. For example, if at the time of delivery, the baby is undergoing, say, for example, a normal delivery, and the labor takes a very long time, and there is what we call as birth asphyxia, wherein the child is not able to breathe for a very long time or has oxygen deprivation during that time. That can also lead to mental retardation. Although that is not a genetic problem, that can lead to problems after delivery as well. For a very long time or has oxygen deprivation during that time, that can also lead to mental retardation. Although that is not.
Oh, मेरा Facebook start हो गया. I'm sorry. Okay, I'm sorry. I please continue.
Yes. Since I'm not your wife here and I'm a co-host, let me boost up a little. Someone has written, I assumed it's going to be very boring to hear a gynecologist, but this is turning out to be super good and you're awesome.
Thank you.
Believe me, gynecologists are not boring. They're quite interesting. So it's, let's come to the next question. Okay. What about family support during menopause? I think you have touched that. You need to be tender, loving, he said. Do you want to say anything there?
No, I think whether it is before or after, whether it is premenstrual syndrome, I think men need to be supportive. Without jokes, I think that is something which is required. I don't know how many young men and women are here on the forum right now. When your wife is going through an infertility treatment, please take care and go with them for the consults. All you need to do is give one semen sample. That's all that biologically is required for you. The least you can do is at least accompany them for their treatments and their consults. Most husbands tend to send their wives to the consult saying, you get the work done and you come back later in the evening and let me know whatever happened. During the treatment as well, please accompany them. During pregnancy as well, do not send your mothers and your mother-in-laws with your wife. I think that's the least we husbands can do for them, as to, if I were to have to bear a child for 9 months, I would never become a mother or a father at all. It's, I think, the most difficult thing to ever do on this planet Earth. And I think we need to respect that on Mother's Day today. But the least we can do is at least be with them, support them, give them the tender, loving care, and not make life more difficult for them.
Okay, there are a few questions I'm just asking, but you have answered. But since they are there, at what age do we expect menopause? You've answered that. Is it risky if we don't have it at the right age? I think you've answered that. After menopause, there's so many types of complications in women. Why? And are there any supplements which can be taken for osteoporosis?
For osteoporosis, vitamin D and calcium are important, but please understand again, exercise is going to be important right from the class, probably age 10 to age 70. So all that calcium and the vitamin D does not move into your bones if you're not exercising. In fact, contrary to popular belief, you need to do weight training after the age of 40, because otherwise your muscles will become loose and relaxed. So that weight training is what is going to drive calcium into your bones and make them more strong.
Okay. There's a very basic question. It's asked like, how do we know if we are pregnant?
Do a urine pregnancy test. That's the simplest thing you can do. And you will get to know that you're pregnant. Otherwise, like the Hindi movie serials, you'll probably can faint over the lunch table or the dinner table, and everyone's going to jump up and say, "Ki maa banne wali hai." That is something again you can do, or you can show all the signs of nausea, and then again someone will know that you're pregnant. So scientifically, do a urine pregnancy test, or you can visit a diagnostic center. A blood for beta HCG can be done. A urine pregnancy test will come out positive only if that particular value of beta HCG is above 50. So it's going to tell you probably a little later. The blood test can pick up values as low as 5. So a blood test tells you earlier if you're pregnant.
Okay. My daughter is 19 years old. So I started this. She hardly bleeds from her 3rd day of her period. Please help.
We need to understand if she's suffering from anemia, and that is the reason why.
Sorry. Yeah.
And if she's suffering from anemia, and that is why she's having less periods, we need to understand if she's having a thyroid disorder. And that is why, because if you have hyperthyroidism, because if your TSH levels are very, very low, again, you're going to bleed much lesser. We need to also, although she's only 19 years old, we need to evaluate her egg quality as well to understand if the egg quality is very bad, even at that young age. And that is the reason why she's bleeding lesser. Last but not the least, India is an endemic country for tuberculosis. Tuberculosis is again one reason why women can have lesser periods. So that also needs to be evaluated to understand why someone is bleeding less. But having said that, please understand that, bleeding less, bleeding more, sometimes it's just physiological. Do not press the panic button all the time. Do not worry just because your periods are fluctuating a little bit. Sometimes it can be part and parcel of a normal body physiology.
Yes, Jitin, you were saying something.
You made my life so easy. I had a cup of coffee. I'm sitting and trying to look around what to do. You guys are doing it so well. Humko kuch karna hi nahi hai. You won't believe I was checking out on my Facebook how many views have come. You're doing very well. 22 shares. You have some magic, huh? Guys, he's there recorded on the Facebook page. You must watch him. If you missed out on any questions, the questions have been answered. I see a lot of questions are repeated because they are more or less the same kind of questions coming up again and again.
I think menopause is the problem right now. There are a lot of questions on menopause and periods. Okay, now I'll take a different question. Why is there high incidence of infertility nowadays? Is it lifestyle?
I think the high incidence of infertility is for 2 reasons. One, we are discovering the problem more because earlier people would just kind of, keep trying, and one fine day they would probably get pregnant. Today, more and more people visit doctors. More and more people are visiting infertility specialists. We're getting to know about the problem more. So that is one reason. 2, yes, the problem is as such also becoming more. India is the diabetes capital. We are, a lot of us are overweight. We don't exercise. Lifestyles have changed. People eat out more. So, the kind of junk food we have. So that has increased a lot. If you ask our grandparents or even our parents, the kind of air they breathed when they were young as children and what we are breathing, we see over the last 45 days to 2 months, how everyone is talking about the air becoming cleaner. We breathe poison every day. So that poison also goes into our system. Somewhere that creates a problem. The fertilizers in the food, we don't know what kind of food we eat. So that is also a reason why probably the infertility levels are going up more and more. A very simple study which was done, they found that the egg quality in Caucasians, that is women in the Western worlds, were at least 6 years younger than the eggs of Asians, especially Indians. Why would that happen? Things are not quality controlled in our country. And obviously what we consume, what we breathe is probably, this is of course my hypothesis, I'm not saying it's written somewhere, but probably more poisonous, more harmful than probably in the Western world. Maybe it's a genetic thing as well, but studies have shown that.
Okay, we have 2 hands raised. One is Dr. Nazia Khurshid. I am unmuting you. You are live.
Hello, sir.
हाँ जी, पूछिए आप.
Hello.
Hello, sir.
Hi.
How are you? Hello.
I'm good. How are you? I can't see you, Dr. Nazia.
Who's muting? Somebody is muting. Just a minute. Yeah, I'm muted.
Okay. Sir, my question is, what measure should be taken to raise fetal weight in last trimester, or what diet should be followed to increase fetal weight, especially after 32 weeks?
Dr. Nazia, I don't think we need to wait till 32 weeks to try and increase the weight, or there should be any attempt to try and increase the fetal weight. I don't think you can even actually attempt to increase the fetal weight. What you see at 32 weeks is an end result of what has been happening from the very first day the mother has gotten pregnant. So I believe that you need to look into all the problems. So for example, there are certain conditions like antiphospholipid antibody syndrome, which can actually reduce the weight of the baby. We need to diagnose them early, and you need to ensure that that doesn't happen. Contrary to popular belief, if someone is overweight, one would think that the baby is going to be fat. But because of overweight as well, the weight of the baby can actually suffer, and that baby can be having intrauterine growth retardation. So the weight needs to be maintained. I think it's very, very important for every single mother to be with a nutritionist from the very beginning of pregnancy, so that you don't put on too much of weight and you're also not underweight. And the quality of your diet can be changed. If we understand that proteins are the building blocks for that baby to form, that proteins become very important. A high protein diet should be followed by that mother right through pregnancy. Now, if you do understand that for whatever reason, at 32 weeks, the weight of the baby is not very good, it's underweight, then the doctor needs to try and find out why is the weight of the baby low. There has to be some kind of a medical problem. That medical problem needs to be corrected. Having said that, we do give certain supplements and medications, etc. It doesn't always seem to work, but we sometimes give it for the mental peace of the patient as well as for our mental peace, probably.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you. I'm unmuting Rita Gupta ji. I'm unmuting you now. You are there. Rita Gupta ji, are you there?
Yeah, I'm there.
Please ask your question.
Yeah, sir. Good afternoon, sir.
Hi, good afternoon.
I'm a thyroid patient. I'm 52 years old. And since last 25 years, I have thyroid, and my uterus is also being removed 10 years back. Now, what is happening is very frequently I'm getting a fishy smell on the vaginal side of my the vaginal side, and I'm applying all Candid cream and all necessary measures I'm taking. Still, I'm not getting rid of it.
Okay. So nothing that you said before the vaginal discharge has any relation to the vaginal discharge. You being of a particular age, you're having a hysterectomy done, you're having a thyroid problem, nothing of that has a relation to the vaginal discharge. Now, you have to understand that vaginal discharge is common for every single woman. There is no woman in this world who's never going to have a vaginal discharge. So if a problem is there in the vagina, a gynecologist needs to take a look. If there is an infection, that infection needs to be treated. Usually, and you said that you're applying local creams. A local cream
No, I'm applying, sorry to interrupt you, I'm applying the Candid cream and Candid been prescribed by a gynecologist in Calcutta.
So if it's being inserted inside as well, so one needs to, first of all, the first line would be to try and understand if she is diabetic and so on and so forth, rule out all the other problems which could lead to this problem, number one. Number two, very important again, some women tend to use certain chemicals for vaginal hygiene, douching, etc. Sometimes that can actually increase the problem than decrease the problem. So that needs to be looked into. 3, local creams are given, including local creams for application outside, as well as medications for inserting inside the vagina. That usually takes care of the problem. If that also doesn't take care of the problem, then we need to take swabs from the vagina. Maybe the particular antibiotic that we are giving is not the right antibiotic. The swab with the culture will tell us what is the problem. Some women have a peculiar problem, that is the infection goes away, and after some days it tends to come back once again. One has to understand that if one is having unprotected intercourse, whatever infection the woman has, the husband may have as well. And because you've treated yourself, the husband wasn't treated, the husband gives the infection back again to the wife. So in such cases, if a woman is having recurrent infection or the infection is not going away, the husband needs to be evaluated as well, and the husband needs to be treated also. Having said that, sometimes long-term treatment is required. You can't stop medication. Sometimes we keep giving it for 6 months as well, and that takes care of the problem.
Thank you, sir. I got your point. I have to take a long medication, I think so.
Right.
Because intercourse is not there at all. I'm a diabetic also, but I has to continue with my medicines for more days.
I guess so.
Madam, can we move on to the next question? Sunil Madhavariya ji, you're there? I'm unmuting you. Yeah. Yes.
Dr. Rajiv Agarwal. Good afternoon, sir.
Yeah, good afternoon.
It's about my mother actually. She's 76 plus age, and before the lockdown, actually I could not consult the gynecologist after that. The MRI of pelvis was done last. Before that, we did the USG and the pap smear, and then we went for TVS, which could not be performed because my mother could not move. She's not mobile actually. She's on catheter. She has a diabetes and she is hypertension for many years. Actually, hypertension for last 5-6 years, and diabetes and so many other things for last 30 years.
Mr. Sunil, you'll have to come down to the problem a little quickly. What is the problem?
Now the MRI said that thickened endometrium with myometrial invasion, endometrial carcinoma, suggested staging 1B or IV, I do not know, 1B or IV, left ovarian cyst,
Mr. Sunil, I understand your problem. You have to understand I'm a gynecologist.
She had a bleeding actually. She had a profuse bleeding for about 12-13 days. And then we started off.
Mr. Sunil,
we are running short of time. We are at
Mr. Sunil, you have to understand that I'm a gynecologist. This is a very clear case of cancer. So you have to consult a cancer specialist. And two, I don't think lockdown has anything to do with this. The cancer hospital is absolutely open. Doctors are working. You'll just have to move out of the house, take a bit of risk, take your mother and go and see your doctor. I think you're just delaying the treatment unnecessarily, blaming it on the lockdown.
Okay, we'll take one last question by someone raised hand. Are you okay, Dr. Saab? Can I take one more question here?
Yes, please go ahead.
So there is Karishma ji, I'm unmuting you.
Good afternoon, doctor.
Yeah, hi, good afternoon.
I just wanted to ask, what's the reason of lot of white discharge?
As I said, Karishma ji, white discharge can happen to anyone. The vagina is an infected place and white discharge can happen. If the white discharge is mild, it's not very severe. It doesn't happen all the time. It doesn't stain the underclothes. One doesn't need to worry. But if any of these things are happening, or if it has a fishy smell, or if there is itching, you need to speak to a gynecologist who will, as I said 5 minutes back, follow a certain protocol and the infection should go away. But it's nothing very sinister.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Right.
Dr. Saab, how are you? You're okay, no?
I'm absolutely all right.
You answered almost about 70 questions. And you've been here for 1 hour and 44 minutes. Are you there, madam? Where are you? I can't see you.
I think she's been muted for once in her life.
Saroj ji, are you there?
I'm here. Yeah.
Are we left with more questions? WhatsApp questions?
बहुत सारे हैं. अच्छा, let me take one of this since it's the COVID lockdown time. Is it safe to take arsenic ALB30 homeopathy medicine as a precautionary measure for corona during pregnancy?
Yeah, why are you asking an allopath a homeopathic question? Number one. Number two, you have to understand that every medication is all right as long as it has been prescribed by that particular specialist. So I have no idea about homeopathy. Speak to your homeopath. If he or she feels that the medicine is safe, you're most welcome to go ahead. My general suggestion, not for this medication, would be to take as little medication as possible. Do not complicate your pregnancy in any which way.
Perfect. Ma'am, एक suggestion do. Normally what I do with my guests who come in, last में जो question बच जाते हैं ना, we run them through like a rapid fire. yes, no, yes, no, you have to finish them. Otherwise, you know,
No,
if you,
there are a lot of, see what we thought, because they have been quite interactive and they send the questions. So I feel it's very important to take these questions. They've taken out time, given us questions. Let's just go, and there's some repetitive questions. We can just do it. Okay. Face the recurring problem of vaginal itching, which leads to lower backache. In spite of taking care of personal hygiene to the fullest, advice.
I've already answered this, Saroj. We're going to go repetitive on this because this is something very specific they have to understand. And I don't think the vaginal discharge has anything to do with a backache.
Okay, I have rashes all around my under area only from the first day of my period, and it becomes impossible for me to use a sanitary pad the next day. This problem has started from the last 4-5 months. I'm not understanding why it's happening as I take proper hygiene.
I don't know if she's diabetic. She has to first understand that the diabetes has to be ruled out. I don't know if it is a classic case of, again, premenstrual syndrome or menstrual syndrome, wherein, you know, some people, as I said, have specific problems during the periods, which is very difficult to, you know, kind of make them understand. If we do everything else and we discover that nothing else is working or nothing else is the reason particularly for this, I would probably just give antifungal ointments or medications during pregnancy to tide over the particular problem. Again, if this lady is overweight, I would strongly recommend her to lose weight. Sometimes it's that sweating at that point in time can cause the rashes as well.
Okay. Hello, I'm a 33-year-old lady having 2 kids, 5 years and 7 years. Having a blood platelet count of 6 lakhs. We have been to 2 hematologists and all tests are clear, everything. So hematologists have
I'm sorry, Saroj, this is to be dealt with by a hematologist. Yeah. I'm a gynecologist. I have absolutely no idea about these things. So this has to be dealt with by a specialist.
Okay. Irregular periods, painful periods, less flow, very heavy flow. Which of these conditions lead to infertility? I'm asking because the question is towards infertility.
No, I think this is a very generic question. It's going to be very difficult for me to answer. If you ask me in one word, do any of these by itself cause infertility? Absolutely no. If there is a sinister reason behind any of these happening, only then will infertility happen, not otherwise.
Okay, someone has had an abortion the first time she got pregnant. Will she have any issues conceiving when she wants to in future?
Most cases of abortion happen because of genetic reasons. Now, when I say genetic, does it mean it's a sinister reason? No. So, for example, if a woman cooks every day, doesn't mean her cooking is going to be fantastic every single day. So if one day her cooking goes bad, doesn't mean she doesn't know how to cook. Similarly, when the egg and the sperm come together to make an embryo or make the baby, sometimes, despite the mother and the father not having any problem, the baby turns out to have a problem. And God, nature, whatever, has made our bodies so perfect that the body understands, even though our tests show that everything is normal, the body says, I'm not going to let an abnormal baby come into this world, and an abortion is created. If you understand that fact, then if you're cooking badly today, tomorrow your cooking is going to be all right. So even if you don't do anything today, tomorrow the pregnancy is going to be all right. Having said that, yet because a life is precious, we still need to do certain investigations to understand, are we missing something?
Does cervical cancer vaccine means I will never have cancer?
No, that is absolutely a myth. What cervical cancer vaccine does is it merely gives you protection against certain strains of the virus, which can cause the cancer. But by the time you've taken the vaccine, you could have been infected by certain other strains of the virus against which you will not get protection, and cancer can still happen. Which is why, even though you've taken the vaccine, the importance of a pap smear every 2 years still remains.
Rajiv, like many of my friends have asked, when is the right time to take the cervical cancer vaccine? Maybe you can just tell that on the
right. So the right age, there is no right age to take the vaccine. You can take it at any age. In the Western countries, people take it even at the age of 40 or 45. Why is it so? You have to understand that there is a certain virus called the human papilloma virus, which causes the cervical cancer. This virus has various strains. Once you're affected by the strain, nothing is going to work. So in India, the age is from 9 to 24. because the chances of catching the virus are more after the first act of sexual intercourse, which is why the age is 9 to 24. Having said that, is there a guarantee that you will catch the virus after intercourse? Not necessarily so. Is it a guarantee that you will be affected by all the strains? Not necessarily so. So जैसे कहते हैं कि जब जागो तभी सवेरा, at any particular age, if you want to take the vaccine, please go ahead and take it. It won't harm you, even if it doesn't do any good.
Okay, what is the best contraceptive practice? Is IPL the answer?
So best contraceptive, there is no one best contraceptive pill. It's like a cafeteria choice. Depending on one's need, you discuss with your gynecologist, and your gynecologist will prescribe you the best contraceptive advice, whether it's a copper T, whether it's a condom, or an oral contraceptive pill. Did you say IPL? Or
yes.
Okay.
The glorified IPL.
IPL is an emergency contraception. You don't want emergencies happening every other day in your life. Similarly, then why would you take an emergency contraception pill every other day or every other month or every other year as well? So if you feel that you do require an emergency contraception more frequently than one time in your life, then you need to speak to a gynecologist and get yourself regular contraception done.
Okay. I need to ask this question. Someone has said, what is the percentage of normal deliveries in today's world, Dr. Rajiv? And so many people follow numerology. How do you handle them? Doctor Saab, 2 baje raat mein bachcha aana hai. How do you handle that?
So the percentage of normal deliveries, I think anywhere in the world would be anything between maybe 12 to maybe 20, 30%. That is what is the normal percentage. As far as numerology is concerned, I tell my patients all the time, there is no single Marwadi that I know who delivers without a date and time. So there are mothers who are sitting right in front of me and saying, Doctor Saab, mujhe na normal karna hai kisi bhi tarah se. And there is a father-in-law sitting at the side who says, क्या करोगे बेटा नॉर्मल करके? ये पंडित जी इतना ना 12 तारीख को सुबह के 6 बजे बहुत अच्छा टाइम बताया है, मुहूर्त बहुत अच्छा है, नॉर्मल डिलीवरी को मारो गोली, 6 बजे अपने बच्चे करेंगे. So I think in my more than 20-25 years of practice, barring 1 or 2 Marwadis, for example, who are having a cesarean section, everyone has a date and time. There are couples who are sitting in the room and they say, sir, ठीक है, हमको तो cesarean ही करना है से, और date time को कोई बात ही नहीं है, आप अपने हिसाब से डेट बता दो, जो भी medically सही हो, और हम करवाएंगे. And we fix on a date. They go back home and promptly the call comes back in the evening saying, parents कह रहे हैं कि अगर अच्छा करवाना ही है, तो फिर date time दिखवा लो, date time से ही कर लेते हैं. So I hope that answers your question.
Are there any other questions here, or do I continue with my questions? Okay, let's take this. Rajesh Agarwal has said, I have a question, but it is out of syllabus and nothing related to you. So Rajesh, if you want to go ahead and ask your question.
Rajesh, please raise your hand. I'll unmute you.
I don't know if he's there or not.
Yeah,
we will take him
raised
later
his
then.
hand, then he went away. So how's it going, Dr. Saab?
First class, absolutely good. You owe me a large cup of coffee after this.
I just had one. I can see Rajesh is here. I'm just unmuting him.
Yes.
Yes, Rajesh.
Hi, Rajesh.
Hi, can you hear me?
Hi, Rajesh,
Yes,
I
we
can
can
hear
hear
you.
you.
Yes.
Why is
Yeah, just one question. What is the reason behind your charming, beautiful, and sexy smile? And I don't want to hear that it is because of Saroj. So I need a proper answer for this.
Why will I give the credit to everything to Saroj? This charming smile can only have. See, I truly believe that I am blessed. Whether it is my weight management, whether it is my age management, or whether it is my charming smile, I think I only have my parents and especially my mother to thank for this. So on this particular day, thank you for asking the question. My mother is the reason why I have a smile, because I think she has a beautiful smile.
He was here to
Thank
jack
you.
you, and you made it very
Actually, I asked it on a wrong day, actually. So maybe some other time I'll ask the same question again.
I think we should
But
cut it
very
short.
rightly answered. Thank you so much.
Dr. Saab, we are 2 hours into the session and the questions won't end. But you've tried to answer most of the questions. So, friends, I think let's let him go. It's a holiday for him. Sunday. आपने सर खाना खा लिया था ना?
खाना खा लिया था मैंने. Thank you.
आपने बताया नहीं क्या खाया आपने?
Today was Mother's Day special, and in fact, Saroj managed to order food from outside through a friend who does home cooking, and the food came from there. But to be very honest, the food that my mother and Saroj have been cooking over the last 2 months of lockdown, I felt was much better than the food which I got from outside. So I've been blessed.
That everybody says because they didn't have a choice.
No, I say it from the bottom of my heart. I'm someone who's a non-vegetarian. I'm someone who will die for non-vegetarian food, but because of this lockdown, I've been totally off non-veg food. And for someone like me to say that vegetarian food has been brilliant in my house is something, yes. So, but blessed.
Good.
Thank you.
We've had a great session, Dr. Saab. So many comments have come in.
Thank you, Jiten. Thank you to everyone.
They are only complimenting you the way you are answering questions and your personality and all that. And
thank you, Dr. Shilpi.
We really appreciate your presence. Dr. Shilpi, are you there? Where is she? I mean, actually,
she's there.
My laptop went off. I'm on the phone now. I'm very much there. Love the session, Doc.
Thank you, Dr. Shilpi. Thank you.
Sunday afternoon, total pleasure. Very well spent. I think so. And I want to even congratulate Saroj. She really, was.
Yeah, she rigged my show. She rigged my show. I had nothing to do. I was only having coffee today. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, my friends.
Thank you, JC.
Thank you, Ravi. Thank you, Hemant.
Thank you.
Thank you, Manoj. And thank you,
There are
Rajiv.
a lot of questions. Maybe we can answer them in some other forum or something. Yeah.
Yes.
Papa JC, I think this has been a lovely thing. When you started off, to be very honest, with due respect, I felt that, yaar, ye pata nahi kitna interesting hoga. Not today, I'm saying. When you started doing these shows in the very beginning, I was a little skeptical. I wasn't very this thing that, this is going to be just one of those forums, one of those sessions. But I've been watching your shows over the last so many days and weeks now.
Really?
I think it's been,
I never see you come here. I mean, you watch it.
I am there. Sometimes I'm live. Sometimes I go back and watch this thing, but it's been brilliant. Even when we did that show where you said that no medical questions is going to be asked to the doctors, I was very skeptical. I wasn't very sure of what would happen. We had a great time that day, and I think I've only enjoyed myself more today. So thank you so much. Thank you.
Oh, it was an honor to have you here, sir. Please. And do come back tomorrow. We have a very good session, and this is on personality building. We're talking about communications.
Right.
Come in tomorrow. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you,
Doctor.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.